Remember how a year ago Donald Trump was shouting that Ukraine had no map and had already lost the war? That's why he said they should hurry up and surrender to the great leader Putin. No, you won't hear anything like that from the US president or his administration. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Secretary of State Rubio says that the Ukrainian army is the most powerful in Europe.
There's no doubt that the need to fight this war pushed Ukrainians to develop new tactics, new methods, new equipment, and new technologies, which have created a kind of new asymmetric warfare. It's impressive, absolutely. I mean, if you look at it, the Russians are losing 5 times more soldiers per month than the Ukrainians. And by the way, Ukraine is a smaller country and its army is smaller too. Although the Ukrainian armed forces are the strongest and most powerful in all of Europe, just so you understand.
A year later, among the world's elites and expert communities, the discussion is no longer about how much longer Ukraine can hold out, but about when Russia will be defeated on the battlefield. In the US Senate and Congress, they're openly discussing how much longer Putin's army can hold out.
Here we are rolling out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin insulting President Zelensky at the White House. He doesn't have any trump cards, right? Well, a year has passed since then, and obviously he does have a few trump cards because Ukraine is actually defeating Russia.
The defeatist notes have also disappeared from the Western international press. The realities on the battlefield have completely changed the information agenda. Ukraine's women, and that's a fact. And everyone acknowledges it. Recently, an article came out in Trump's favorite publication, the New York Post. It's hardly the most pro-Ukrainian outlet. Nevertheless, experts describe the situation at the front as follows, like this. Ukraine is maintaining the upper hand in the war. The armed forces of Ukraine have stopped the Russian advance and are destroying their rear and logistical infrastructure. And it's all thanks to technological superiority. Against this backdrop, Russia itself is facing a worsening economic crisis and growing war fatigue. Journalists are now recommending that Donald Trump put pressure specifically on Putin, taking advantage of his weakness, to force him to agree to peace.
Well, that's a twist.
Have seen a whole range of unclassified assessments and open sources over the past month, indicating that there is no risk of Ukraine being defeated at this stage. But in reality, Russia is in danger and could lose the war.
The most striking thing is that the Russian information space completely agrees with the assessments of Western experts. Even pro-Kremlin outlets have started openly talking about losing the war. Propaganda has literally started warming up the population for a future capitulation.
Losing to Ukraine is not shameful. After all, Ukrainians are basically Russians too, just like us. And Russians never lose and never surrender.
How about that statement from a dyed-in-the-wool chauvinist and Ukrainophobe? Turns out it's not embarrassing for Ukrainians to lose. That's what these life-giving drones are doing.
For the first time in 350 years, Russia is fighting without Ukrainians in its ranks and regiments. You can see the result.
Almost simultaneously with the article in the New York Post, the thoroughly pro-Putin Moskovsky Komsomolets published its own piece titled Astonishing Defeats, discussing when geopolitical losses can be more useful than brilliant victories. Just the title of the article sent chills down the spines of the repatriates. To say the article caused panic would be an understatement. The most hardcore pro-Kremlin author, Dmitry Krasnov, writes that losing the war is actually a good thing. Shame has always worked wonders for Russia. Here's a quote for you. In Russia, it was exactly the lost wars and humiliating peace treaties that regularly led to new breakthroughs, reforms, and, surprisingly enough, new victories.
Wonderful, astonishing, brilliant.
The author calls the Mongol yoke in the defeat in the Crimean War a great gift for the Russians. Something like, the more they beat us, the stronger we get. But in reality, between the lines, you can hear a cry. We're doomed. The country's fallen apart. We urgently need to go for a truce with Ukraine, even on even humiliating terms, before it's too late. Can you imagine the transformation happening in the minds of the racists? Ukrainians don't exist. They're not a real people. Ukraine is an artificial, weak, and unviable state. So a military defeat by Ukraine is a great blessing for Russia. They have a ton of problems here themselves.
But all they do is show us America, the Cocos, the Jews, and Europe. Why do we need all of this? Put your own house in order first. Here, as soon as you leave Moscow. In the Moscow region, there are no roads, and in some places, people still use wood stoves. And that's not even counting other regions where everything is destroyed. The state farms and collective farms that used to exist, the schools and factories that used to work, everything is shut down.
Even the Kremlin's main propaganda ghoul, Solovyov, suddenly admitted that Ukrainians are a separate people, and you won't believe it, with their own language.
Now there's a whole crowd. Former Ukrainians who now deny Ukraine, Ukrainians, and the Ukrainian language.
To me, that seems very wrong. First of all, it's extremely destructive. So those millions of Soviet soldiers who are considered Ukrainians, are they not Ukrainians? Are they somehow incomplete Russians? Do they speak a made-up language? I'm just curious. Beautiful Ukrainian songs in a made-up language.
You might be surprised, but this idea was supported by other Kremlin mouthpieces too. Ukrainians and Russians are no longer one people. And so, there's no need to save Ukrainians anymore. They immediately forgot about the so-called original Russian lands and historical justice.
Fairy tales about the brotherly Ukrainian people who supposedly tricked everyone. Now, my friends,
I don't believe that we in Ukraine are one people. They're a different people. They're Ukrainians.
They want to kill us all, and yet we still call them our brothers. Maybe we're just fools or a bunch of idiots?
we shouldn't keep repeating this mantra about a brotherly nation because honestly, it just poisons our minds.
Odessa will come back. It'll come home. We should ask Maria Zakharova.
Ask Maria Zakharova. Why must Odessa return it?
It's a Russian city.
What, Odessa? A Russian city?
It's a Russian city.
Are there still Russians left there?
There are.
Seriously? Where'd you find them there? The Pushkin family. Let's move on.
We keep coming back to this.
Great. Where did you find Russians there?
In Russia, there's a targeted information campaign underway to prepare the fascist-leaning population for defeat. For 20 years, society was pumped full of hatred and all sorts of great Russian nonsense, and now, in a panic, they're trying to air out their brains at breakneck speed. They've brought out all the heavy trash artillery. The official spokesperson for the Beavers on TV, Margarita Simonian, probably came up with the most insane justification for the upcoming shameful peace. Turns out it's not embarrassing to retreat with your tail between your legs because Russia supposedly already defeated Ukraine a long time ago and achieved all its goals.
And you could say that Ukraine is too small for a holy war. But after all, we're not fighting a war with Ukraine. I won't get tired of reminding everyone about this. The war with Ukraine is over. February 28th, 2022, 6 days after the special military operation began. It really was a small operation, like with Georgia. That's it. It all ended there. And they were ready to give up everything, under any conditions, whatever it took. And
let's all do it together.
The Z military bloggers, for their part, are working hard to warm people up to the idea of an imminent defeat. The bold speeches about capturing Donbass and Kiev's surrender have disappeared somewhere. Instead, there's just dreary whining about the catastrophic situation of the occupiers at the front and the total destruction of the Russian army.
I lost a lot of comrades in the war. Out of about 50 rookies in the battery I was in, only 5 are still in service, and 5 more are disabled. And the rest are gone, unfortunately.
Right now, the drone parity is such that for every one of our soldiers, there are 20, 30, and sometimes even up to 70 enemy drones. Yeah, that happens too.
Just think about it. On Solovyov Live, the host is basically scaring Russians into signing contracts and going to war because it's suicide. And he's not the only one. This is a general trend. Things are bad at the front, and it's time to wrap up the special military operation and run back across the border.
Right now, we're in a situation where we need to end this war.
As you can see, for us, victory is a very complex concept, where territory isn't the most important thing and borders aren't the most important thing either.
Unlike the Kremlin's paid lackeys, the Z-Patriots are a bit less hysterical as things heat up and head toward defeat. They're screaming about betrayal and the weakness of the authorities. Just enjoy how painful it is for the occupiers to accept reality. Awkward meltdowns. Idiots? Or is that faint voice of betrayal coming from the loyal Moscow Komsomolets? What kind of brainless, shameless jerk do you have to be to say something like that in today's reality? What the fuck are you even preparing for? Another Telegram channel is freaking out. Some diehard patriots are so shocked that they refuse to believe what's happening and think that preparing for capitulation is just another Ukrainian psyop. But after checking the facts, they crawl under the table and start sobbing, wiping away a single patriotic tear. All they can do now is admit the fact that disaster's looming and make sarcastic jokes about what's happening. Given the situation at the front, the warm-up, Goryev didn't take long to show up. I feel like that's some kind of hint. It's not a hint, it's a bold period at the end of Russia's so-called greatness. You just have to accept it and forgive. That's exactly what Lev Vershinin, the angry patriot and accomplice of Strokov-Gherkin, did. Defeat is victory. Collapse is consolidation. Degradation is a breakthrough. Hooray, hooray, hooray!
Hooray, hooray!
Hooray! If anyone in Russia still has doubts about how this war will end for them, all they have to do is look out the window and see the burning oil refineries, the oil-slicked beaches, the endless cemeteries, and the helicopters installing air defense systems on rooftops in the center of Moscow. All of this should lead to one simple thought. Russia's not just going to lose. It is already lost. No matter what happens in the end, right now it is crushed and has suffered irreparable losses. The process of collapse and degradation can't be stopped. That's why all Putin can do now is mentally prepare his subjects for a hard, very hard landing.
When Putin invaded Ukraine, he thought he'd storm in like a thunderstorm on a summer night and take it over in 2 days, didn't he? I think so, yes. But the Ukrainian people fought back, right? Yes, sir, they fought back. And now they have some of the most advanced drone technologies in world history, don't they? Yes, sir, they use drones very effectively. And with the limited resources they have, they're basically tearing Russia apart, aren't they? I'd say so, yes.
I want to remind you that this video is made for entertainment purposes and contains elements of satire and irony. All facts and events are presented in a hyperbolic or exaggerated manner to create a comedic or dramatic effect. We're not trying to mislead anyone, we're just focusing on the humor. Please take this with a smile.